come back to the policy because this is important. As I understand it, the GAIN Act, which passed Congress 5 years ago, 2012, which generating antibiotic incentives now, is that the acronym what it stands for? So, I mean, basically trying to address a problem here, which was what economists would call a classic market failure. And that is we know from public health authorities that we have a problem with antibiotic resistance. And yet the pharmaceutical industry, which has long, proud history of developing antibiotics, had, for business reasons, largely retreated from the field. They didn't see the kind of profits there that they saw in some other therapeutic categories. They got out. Congress reacted and said, maybe we need to create some new kind of incentives. And that, there's a whole bunch, and Jeff, you're the expert on this. You were part of the working group, right, that helped put that together. So, but there's a parallel here with antifungals. The antifungals got folded into this, which not that many people realize again, right?
Right. Yeah, so the GAIN Act enables companies working on new products that address an unmet need, some significant unmet need, meaning multi-drug resistant bacterial pathogens or fungal pathogens. You get what's called QIDP status, Qualified Infectious Disease Product status, which provides under the GAIN Act a number of important benefits. One of those is an additional 5 years of data exclusivity. So you can have a drug that is about to go off patent, which from a commercial perspective isn't that exciting to investors to fund your company. But with the additional 5 years of data exclusivity, that can be attractive. It also provides for fast track and the opportunity for orphan drug status. So there are a number of important benefits to getting that QIDP status. And there are several members of this antimicrobial working group that wouldn't exist if not for the GAIN Act. But I think everybody understands that that's just a great start, but there needs to be some other really important incentives to foster innovation and to foster investment in these companies because of this market failure you speak of.
Now, one of those would namely be pricing, right? Because this is part of the issue. A GAIN Act could provide new incentives and you could get through the FDA, but if the payers say, well, we're just not going to pay much for that drug, you're not able to reward your investors.
That's right.
Are you seeing any movement, and maybe you guys have any opinion there on is there any willingness in the payer community to step up a little more for the antibiotics or for the antifungals?
Well, the issue is, first of all, the GAIN Act certainly created what you can call sort of a renaissance of antibiotics. And we after the GAIN Act passed, in a few years, we got 6-8 antibiotics approved. It is more than in the previous 10 years. So certainly it achieved the result of having new antibiotics coming to the patients in the market. However, more than the price, the price actually at the end, thinking there is a product, for example, I developed in my previous life, Avicaz, in which the pricing has been paid, the payers pay for it. The issue is that the product, given its nature, which is for severe infection, selected infections, tends to be used in a very limited group of patients. So even if the price is, I would say, relatively high, or for not even comparable to oncology drugs, so and that is a question that we can have some more discussion. Why oncology drugs, you can charge tens of thousands of dollars, and for a drug that actually saves lives, you can't, like an antibiotic. But that is another story. So the problem is that the population is rather limited, and therefore, with Jeff, I'm part of the same group. We are trying to see if there are ways actually to create incentives that will make companies and investors willing to put money into the anti-infective field. Because this is what we are seeing also. A certain amount of reluctance, of lukewarmness now, of investors putting money into the biotech companies that are doing anti-infectious drugs.
We're having this conversation as we speak with our board. I'm sure everybody is, as we've got a portfolio of agents, and for their earlier programs, we're trying to decide what direction to take. And an incremental challenge, I think, in the antifungal space comes down to epidemiology, and Tom's the expert. But we actually built a database from the ground up. What possible indications could one pursue in the antifungal space, regardless of superficial, toenail, mucosal, vaginal infections, invasive? And it ended up to be about 85 different disease entities. The practical reality is, though, you can only develop about 4 or 5 indications because all the others are so rare that you could never pull a regulatory program together. What drives a lot of the sales are these less common illnesses because the docs are using the agents because they're now commercially available. So one of the challenges we've had raising capital is getting people excited about those particular indications that you can actually develop and get to an NDA. So that's an incremental challenge here that I don't think we have in the anti-infective space, is that the bulk of the sales are coming from indications that you really can't pursue from a registration perspective. But coming back to the GAIN Act, just having that incremental, maybe fast-track status for us hasn't been enough to get investors excited about the space. I think we need to have some more dramatic offset of development costs and or payer protection.